Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, possibly. Today I will be covering algebra, actually finding the slope between 2 points. We actually started on this skill before we left school, so hopefully this will just help you in terms of having a little refresher. So let's get started. The first problem, I just would like you to jot it down. If you have a piece of paper or something, this is the first problem. So you may want to write it. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is you have to plot your points, your x, y, and your x1. Every time you have two sets of points, you have to identify what is x1 and what is y1. Okay, so the first number is always going to be x1, and your second number is going to be y1. This is going to be x2. Your second number over here is x2, and your last number is y2. So whenever you have two sets of points and you're trying to find the distance, you have to plot x1, y1, x2, y2 every time. Okay? Don't get it confused. 1, 1, and 2, 2. So just think about when you're looking at the plane and you have those 4 squares or 4 grids on the coordinate. You have 2 for the x grid and 2 for the y on the plane. So you're going to label it as so every time. Okay? Then you're going to take a slope. You have to write down your formula for the slope, okay? So this is the formula for slope. It is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Don't get it confused with this up here. This starts with x1, but you have to change it to this when you are writing the formula. Can you see that? Okay. So I'll write it a little bit larger just in case you can't see it very well. I'll just write it a little bit larger. Okay. Now, all you have to do is go in and plug in your points. Really, really simple. Okay. So, as you see, the y2 is 2 and the y1 is negative 4. The y2 is 2 and the y1 is negative 4. Okay, the x2 is negative 5 and the x1 is 3. Do you see how I did that? I just plugged in the numbers from right here so that I could plug it into my formula. The y2, the y1, the x2, and the x1. See that? Okay. Now, the negative, Now, the -2, or the +2, I'm sorry, minus the -4 is going to give us a +6. And the -5 minus the 3 is going to give us a -8. Okay? So the +2 and the -4, we actually are going to add them. +2 minus 4 is going to give us a 6. And then the -5 minus the 3 is going to give us an 8. So we have a positive and a negative, and then also a positive and a negative. And we're going to simply add them. The 8 is going to be negative. So your first answer is 6/8. And then we simply divide by 2. Okay, so 2 will go into 6 3 times, and 2 will go into 8 4 times. So in this part of the problem, all I did was simplify. I found a number that could be divided evenly into both the 6 and the 8, and we came out with -3/4 as our answer. Okay, I hope that was a little bit clear. Okay. Let's erase this and see if we can do another one. This time I am going to write down a problem, and I'm going to allow you to work it before I actually give you the answer. So this will give you a little bit of time to practice and see if you are understanding the skill on how to find the slope between 2 points. This time I am not including any negatives in the problem, so it will not be too bad. It should be pretty easy for you. Okay, try to work this, and in a few minutes I'll give you the answer. We'll see if we have the same answer or if someone came up with something different. Okay, go ahead and work this out now. Okay, so if you are done, you need about, what, 20 more seconds maybe? All right, so once again, I had to plug in my points. Okay. Hopefully you came up with the same answer, which is 0 over 2. Okay. So 0 divided by any number is going to be 0, and therefore your answer would be 0. My slope would be 0. The 0 is basically represented if you have a problem on a graph or on a plane. Let's say you are presented with a problem with a coordinate plane like that, and you have a, they said, what is the slope of this problem, okay? So let's say that, and I know this is a little difficult to see because it's a black marker on a black grid, but let's say that they gave you a horizontal line such as this one that I just drew. Your answer would be 0 every time, okay? So horizontal line, that means it would be 0. 0 over any number. If you ever come up with 0 over any number, your answer is going to be 0. So that means your answer is, it is horizontal, which is 0. Okay? Great. Hopefully you are catching on to this pretty well, or it is just helping you to be able to be refreshed, as I said, since we are out on break. I wouldn't actually call it a break. We are out due to this virus, which is not a good thing, but at least we're able to stay in communication and stay in touch with one another. And you can always reach out to me via email if you need to. For those of you all that do not have my email, I'm going to write it down for you. Ta-da! carterk@mccc.edu is my email address, which you can send me an email anytime, day or night. Okay, got it? Okay, good. All right. Okay, let's see. Something else that we reviewed when we were in school is the different types of ways to say slope, or you may be asked to identify the slope, okay? So there are different ways that you may be asked to identify the slope. Here are a few of them. You may simply be asked to find the slope, to identify M, to identify the rise over run, and to identify the change in Y over the change in X. So as we said before, the triangle in mathematical terms just represents change. So the change in the Y-axis or the change in the X-axis, okay? If you need to write these down, write them down. And you can Google these. You can go on websites such as Khan Academy, which I've given all of you. And you can find all of these on there. Also, one that I forgot. You may also be asked to find the rate of change. The rate of change is also another way to be able to identify the slope in a problem. Okay? Now, let's look at one more, maybe one or two. Want to do two? 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see how our time looks. So we're going to bump it up a little bit to where you may have a fraction included in identifying the slope between two given points. So it's a little bit more difficult, but it's really easy. All you have to do is think about your numbers that you're applying. It's a few more steps, but it's really simple. If you do it a few times, you'll really get the hang of it. No problem. Easy breezy, okay? So in this particular problem, I'll let you write that down. Got it? Okay. So, once again, what is the first thing we do? We identify the x1 and the y1. And then we identify the x2 and the y2. So just as we did before, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? No problem. Okay. So, okay, so the first thing that you are going to need to do is, just like before, you have to identify where you need to plug in. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you, my assistant. All right, so just as we said before, the next thing you're going to have to do is just to identify where you need to plug in your points. So here, we just have fractions instead of whole numbers. We have one whole number in this particular problem. So we are just plugging in like we did before. Our 1/5 here, which is the y2, and then our y1 is the 1/2. So 1/5 minus 1/2 is what should be on the top. And then on the bottom, once again, we identify our x2 minus our x1. So negative 1/3 minus 3. x2 minus x1, negative 1/3 minus 3. Got it? Got it? Good. Okay. So write that down. I'll give you a moment just to write that down if you want to take it for your notes to review later. If you hear my stomach, I'm sorry. I haven't had lunch yet, so I might be a little bit hungry, but hopefully you can hear my voice over my stomach. So then the next thing you need to do is you need to take your denominators that we have, and you are going to multiply your denominators one by the other. You're going to have to find a common number. So what I did was my 2, my 3, and my 5. I took my 2, my 3, and my 5, and I multiplied them. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. And once again, I took a 2, I took my 3, my denominators, and my 5. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. Okay? Pretty simple, right? Pretty understandable. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is, what's the easiest way to do this? Okay, so 6 minus 15. So now that we have our 30, we're going to take the 30 and we're going to divide our denominators into that. So 5 will go into 30 6 times. Did you see what I just did? We took our 5 denominator, 30 divided by 5 is 6, and then 30 divided by 2 is 15. Does that make sense? If not, I'll say it one more time. We have 30 here. If you don't remember how we got 30, we multiplied 2 times 3 because that is 6, and then 6 times 5 gave us 30, okay? Then I took my 30 divided by 5, our first denominator is 6, and then 30 divided by 2, our second denominator is 15. So that is going to be plugged into the first part of our slope formula. Did I just erase some of it? I'm sorry. Okay, so you have that. So what do you think you're going to have here? This little area where I just drew a box, what do you think will go next? Take a guess. If you said -10, can you see that? If you said -10, you are correct, because 3 will go on to 30 10 times, or 30 divided by 3 is 10. Either way you want to say it. So we have -10, and then we're almost actually done. We do not have a denominator here. We do not have a denominator. So basically all you do is you're going to multiply your 30 times your 3, 30, your whole number, times your whole number, and that is going to give you 90. Okay? So this is what you should have so far on your paper. I'm going to give you just a few seconds for you to be able to work out the rest of the problem. And then we'll compare answers and see what you have. I'm so glad that I have my assistant here to keep the camera, because I don't want to have to reach over like I'm coming through the camera to stand it back up again. Okay. Okay. Are you done with your answer? All righty. Here's what I have for my answer. So our 6 minus 15 gave us a -9, and our -10 minus 90 gave us -100. And anytime you divide a negative into a negative, it's just going to end up being a positive. So our answer is simply 9/100. Okay? Do you have that? If not, you can play this video as many times as you need to, and you can see how step by step I got this answer again. Okay? So, did I give you enough time to write that down? I hope I did. If not, just play the video again and it'll just give you all of this information. I am running out of water on my paper towel, so it is actually getting a little bit dry on me. So let's see, what other problems can we work on? Okay, just for our last few minutes together, let's just go about and identify the rise over run where your answer is going to come out to be simply one fraction. To me, this is really a simple way to find the slope or the rise over run. And I am going to draw my coordinate plane the best that I can so that you can see it right here. So if you recall, your rise is always going to be how many steps or how many times you are counting up when you're counting on the coordinate plane. And your run, when you run, like running down the street, is going to be the number of times that you count over. Whether you're counting to the left or the right, your run is going to be the number of times that you have to count on your x-axis, okay? So let's just pretend, okay. So let's pretend that you have this grid, this plane, and your points that are plotted are going to be here and here, okay? So these are the 2 points that you are going to look for, the one here and the one here. Don't worry about the one in the middle. So once again, we are finding our rise over run, and you're going to start by identifying your point at the bottom, okay? So this is really simple, but sometimes people get a little messed up with it because they can't remember, they don't remember to start here. So you always start here with 0. You don't start at number 1, you start at 0. So it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Did you see what I did? I counted over 4 spots because I'm trying to align it with my spot or my dot, my point, I'm sorry, with my point actually on this particular part of the grid. So I started here with 0, and I said 1, 2, 3, 4. So my run, remember my number that we run like straight across, is going to be 4. And once again, we're here right now. So you don't start with 1, start with 0. That's really important. That's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me just double count just to make sure. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, and it is a 6. My rise is 6. So 6 over 4 would be my first part of my answer, but I need to simplify that because there is a number that can be divided equally into both parts, okay? So, you have any idea what it'll be? Okay? If we divide 2 into 4, 2 will go into 4 how many times? How many times, assistant? 2. She said 2. Hopefully she's right. And then 2 will also be divided into 6. 3 times. So one thing that I failed to tell you is when you are counting to the left of your grid, it's always going to be a negative answer. And when you are counting to the right of your grid or your plane, it is going to be a positive answer. So when we started, we counted to the what? Assistant, what do we count to? Okay, so we counted to the left. Okay, we did not count to the right, we counted to the left. Can you still see? So since we counted to the left, it is going to be a negative 3 over 2. Let me write that a little bit better so everyone can see. There we go. So your answer is negative 3/2, or negative 3 over 2. Counting to the left, it's negative, and counting to the right, it is positive, okay? And that is how we have found our rise over our run. I hope that despite a few of the little glitches with the camera falling, that you have found this video helpful. I included my email address on there and a few step-by-step instructions on how to find the slope. So please refer to this if you need to again, and I will see you next time. Bye.